Hey, everybody, Meltdown here in the studio with my old friend Rhino, the gore machine, the war machine, the man beast.
You didn't have to say old friend. You could have just said friend, you know. I mean, we've been friends for, 25 years.
It'll be 24. Get it straight.
24. Yeah, okay.
That's right. 3 days after my daughter was born.
Yeah.
I thought of you, by the way, today, not because we were doing this interview, but I was planting flowers at my house in the rain.
Yes, and you taught me the proper way to plant flowers.
That's right.
Yeah, so you dig the hole, and then you put a little water in there, and then you plant the flowers.
True. See, we're already enhancing people's lives.
Yeah.
Teaching them things.
See, with my Italian background, when you're digging a hole, you don't put water in there. There's other things that'll fertilize the flowers.
That's Rhino, ladies and gentlemen. He's here all week.
But don't forget to tip your waitresses.
So what's happening, man? You got another busy week ahead.
Yes. AEW, All Elite Wrestling, Wednesday and Thursday, Masonic Temple. So, come get your tickets. Tickets are as cheap as $25, so it's very affordable for the family and your college buddies if they want to get together, or if you want to get together with college buddies, it's just going to be a great event altogether, 2-day event. Yeah.
No, it sounds fun, and that's a cool place. You've been in there.
Very, very, very cool. Yeah, great for wrestling too.
Yeah, it's haunted, by the way.
Is it?
So don't go there by yourself.
I'm not, but I'll bring my EV equipment and check for ghosts.
Are you a paranormal guy? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Are you?
Ghost hunters. I've kind of fallen out of it. I don't go searching for ghosts, so I scare very easily.
Have you ever been to like the Eloise or anything like that?
No, but my brother has.
Okay.
I'll never forget. My brother told me this was back before they started tearing down the buildings, but he said something
about Eloise.
Yeah, him and his buddies went and they snuck in there, and my dad got creeped out because he would drive by there as a kid, and when it was still open, and it was a mental hospital,
right.
And the patients were out in the lawns and the screaming and stuff. You'd hear it. You could tell it troubled him, and he wasn't troubled easy. So,
well, I've talked about this before, but we captured some really cool stuff last year when I was there in the summertime. Some screams from outside the room we were in, which was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So
ghosts can attach themselves to you, and you can bring them home.
Right.
Yeah.
I try not to do that.
Right.
That's one of my main goals.
Well, see, I try to get attached to women and have them come home with me, but they never do. So, yeah.
Well,
so I stick with wrestling.
One attached to you right now. So.
Right. Yeah, she's mean. So we won't talk about her. No, I'm kidding. She's very nice. But
she's great.
I mean, paranormal is very cool because people are so passionate about it. And, you have so many passions, whether it's motorcycles, wrestling, radio, and all that stuff. And just with wrestling being such a big passion of mine, on TV, fans can watch it. And I was actually watching Ghost Hunters the other day. Now that you mentioned it, I'm starting to get back to that passion. But no, I think passion is great. To have a passion because life is so short. It seems like and to go out and be involved in your passions, whether it's going to a show or going searching for ghosts, I think it's something you need to incorporate in your life. Sometimes we get too busy with work, but.
Now, your passion, of course, obviously is wrestling.
See, what I tried to do is segue back into wrestling. So I took that long road, So
well,
I'm here for a reason.
I picked up on it.
Yeah, okay. I seen you picking up on it, and you give me the eyes going, okay, get to the point. When's the show? What time? How much are tickets? Where can they go?
Well, we've already talked about that. We'll talk about it again.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so speaking of passion, so I don't know if I've ever really talked to you about this before, but your wrestling career started over. Were you training under Scott D'Amore?
Yeah, over in Windsor. Yeah,
That's what I thought. Yeah. And what was your first match? Because you're coming up on the 30th anniversary, right? Or was it?
No, I just had it.
Okay, when was your first match?
March 10th, 1995.
You had your first match on my birthday?
Yeah.
You should have told me that.
I keep on forgetting your birthday. I'm a horrible friend, but a great wrestler. This Wednesday and Thursday, Masonic Temple. See how I'm plugging it? Yeah. See, I'm trying not to get fired before I get hired.
Yeah.
So that's what and Adam's looking over there, going over the sheets, going, hey, you got to plug this, you got to plug that. So
now, March 10th was your first match. What was your first TV match with Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
No. My first TV match was, now that you put me on the spot, but it was for WC. No, actually WWE. WWE or WCW. But yeah.
Yeah, because I got here, you lost to Hacksaw August 5th, 1995. So that wasn't very long after your debut.
Thanks for bringing up my losses.
Well, we don't have all day to talk about all your losses. I just had to bring up a couple of them.
But Wednesday, I won't be losing in the ring. And
So do you remember that match with Hacksaw? Was that your first televised match or no?
Well, growing up as a kid, watching Hacksaw Jim Duggan and just getting in the ring. I wrestled Mark Merrill and guys like that. And what's funny is Adam Copeland, he wrestles with AEW.
Yeah, Edge, for those who don't know,
Yeah, and we went down together to do tapings. And that was my first time ever meeting him. And then we became friends on the independent scene. So, and Christian Cage. By the way, Christian Cage said he ordered all the rain and bad weather here in Michigan, so when you see him, you can boo him.
He's always trying to dig up more heel cred.
Heel, yeah, he's a total heel.
I remember the one day, this was before texting and stuff, and I was living in my old house, so this was in the early 2000s, and you called me and said, hey, you guys are doing a house show downtown, and you said, yeah, we're going to the Denny's over there on Telegraph Road just by 94, and it was Edge and Christian, Hurricane Shane Helms, right?
Yeah.
And then Lance Storm.
Yeah.
And then young Chris Jericho walks in with his shirt completely unbuttoned, looking for us like he thought he was walking in the ring.
I don't think he's buttoned his shirt since then. Yeah. He's a total rock star.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that was when you were still like fairly new, but your name was out there. You were becoming Rhino.
Yeah. Well, after ECW, and I had a lot of great experience with that and learned a lot, and then just was able to, and at that time I was just starting in WWE, but it's been a hell of a career. And I always say, people are like, oh, that's great. You're showing up with AEW and stuff like that. And I go, I'm not there for a long time. When you're this late in your career, you don't show up for a long time. You're there for a good time. So. And a good time will be had Wednesday at the Masonic Temple.
That's right. Keep plugging it.
Right.
So speaking of that, one of my other questions I had was, what is the longest you've ever been at one organization? You've jumped around a lot, like a lot of guys do.
Yeah. Usually 5 years.
Which organization?
Well, WWE, 5 years, I think, the first time, and 5 years the second time.
How long were you at ECW? Because you were there for a while.
2.5.
Oh, just 2.5. Okay.
2.5,
Wow.
Yeah, we'd wrestle up in Buffalo at Burt Flickinger Center.
That's right, yeah.
I was with actually Ring of Honor. I was with Ring of Honor for about 3 years. So, So that was a lot of fun. Learned a lot there, too. Helped a lot of young guys out. So, and that's what I like to do, is help the younger talent out. And, and I'm still learning. So I learned a lot off of Chris Jericho around the time you were talking about how we broke bread at Denny's.
Yeah.
And actually it was Ramshorn, but...
Oh, Ramshorn, that's right. You are correct,
You're plugging Denny's. I think he has stock in Denny's.
You are correct. So, well, you said 25 years, I said Denny's, so...
Yeah.
we're just about even.
Right.
So, yeah, you talk about, helping out the younger guys and stuff. You have a lot of younger guys working in your... in your promotion. I don't know if we can talk about it or not.
But. Yeah, we could touch on it.
But yeah, no, it's so much fun. I love going down there and seeing it. By young guys, some of these kids I think are in school.
Yeah. What's great is you help give them opportunity to learn, and one of the things, with wrestling, it's very important for younger guys to get that opportunity. And one thing I like about All Elite Wrestling AEW is Tony Khan. He has a great passion to help the younger guys and give them a platform to, showcase their talent. And that's very important, not only to the wrestling fans, or not only to the wrestlers themselves, men and women, but to the wrestling fans, because you can see these young men and women just go out there and you're kind of like with them from the beginning. And that's very important, especially when you've been a wrestling fan for several decades. You can say, I remember when that guy first started or that girl first started, and look at them now, like a Britt Baker. Dr. Britt Baker.
Yeah,
So, but she actually took a couple seminars, and she actually mentioned that I helped mentor her, and that made me feel good, because I always tell people, like, it's not me, so when you do succeed, it's your hard work. I can only, throw things out at you, and if it sticks, and, you're the one, if you're going to run with the ball, I'll give you the ball, run with it. And if you run, you run. If you don't, it's up to you. And when you do score a touchdown, it's your hard work. So, but yeah, when she plugged me, I think it was on Chris Jericho's podcast, and I was like, "Wow, that's cool." So I marked out. I'm not gonna lie.
So you've been in it for 3 decades now. Can you remember being starstruck like early on in your career when you saw somebody for the first time, like maybe a Hulkster or something like that?
Yes, yeah. But what's really crazy is as I've gotten older, because a lot of the men and women I've met and and then that I watched as a kid and several times. It's cool when you got Tito Santana coming up to you, go, "Hey, Rhino, how are you?" And I'm like, I remember you when you got hit, Macho Man hit you with a foreign object and you lost the Intercontinental title and you know my name. And so it's still cool when that happens. But I mark out over guys like rock stars or something that I haven't met or something like that. What
rock stars have you met? I was thinking about that earlier because I just saw the story the other day about Bret Hart talking about how that fake Sammy Hagar came in years ago. This is years ago. Yeah. And he got backstage and everything else till someone realized it wasn't actually him. But what rock stars have you met that
Well, Billy Corgan, he owns NWA Wrestling, and I met him years ago back in the 90s and then for ECW. And, Kid Rock I ran into several times. I know you guys are friends. Just in passing, but didn't really get to know him, and just being from Detroit. But what's also cool is I met Mike Wolf from American Pickers.
Oh yeah.
Which I stopped at a shop.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to mark out, but I did. I didn't show it though. I played it cool. I call it like playing cool, like Kevin Nash playing it cool. And I knew he wasn't a big wrestling fan because just watching the show and. Anyways, I was in the shop, and a lot of the props that they, or things that they picked, they kept as props for the people coming in the shop, and I got a picture with them, and I'm just like, please don't look like a schoolgirl, like, or a fangirl, like shaking at the knees and like so. But no, he was really cool, and that was fun, but like. I never really did that because when we were training in wrestling, we were told don't ask for an autograph, and this was back then, just look, just, listen and do what you're told.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't really mark out,
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Yeah, I met Mike Wolf actually about 15 years ago. I met him. He was walking down Woodward at the Dream Cruise around 15, that big green grassy area around 15 in Woodward.
Yeah.
I met him, and I kind of blew his cover. And then people started realizing. I go, hey, you're Mike from American Pickers, right? He's, yeah. So people heard that, and they started coming over, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I went and saw Metallica 3 years ago in Pittsburgh, and I met him again, and I apologized to him.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he gets used to it. But what's crazy is he's never in the shop.
Yeah.
And they were actually fixing up an Airbnb across the street. He bought it, fixed it up to make it an Airbnb.
Now, was this in Nashville or
no? This was in Iowa.
Yeah.
So LeClaire, I think it's called. But anyways, I didn't think I was going to meet anybody. I just wanted to pick up some stuff and grab a T-shirt and stuff, and then he walks in to grab a ladder, and like people are like starting to mark out, and I'm like, play it cool. So
did you tell him who you were, or did he?
Yeah. Well, I had to drop that,
right.
So he'd at least, But he was, he was really cool with everybody. He gave his time to everybody that was in the shop shopping and their store, and and I'm just like, I'm in the marina business, and there's a lot of stuff you can pick. Not at my places, but I know guys, if you ever out there, and so.
Yeah, when I saw him in Pittsburgh, he took one of my friend's numbers because my buddy's got all this crap.
Yeah.
And they've contacted him a few times. But what kind of memorabilia and stuff? Speaking of that, do you have? Do you save anything?
You know what? I don't.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
I like signs and I like history and stuff like that. So, but
I know you're a history buff. Yeah.
I'm gonna collect victories Wednesday and Thursday in AEW at the Masonic Temple.
How many victories do you have in your career?
Oh no, more victories than losses. So that's all I could say. So,
yeah.
But you know what? I've kind of did some rough math. I've definitely wrestled over 3,000 matches.
Wow,
which is crazy.
How many surgeries have you had?
One, I think, or two, something like that. Actually, Chris Jericho, I think, doesn't he keep track of all his wins and losses?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. He's going to be here next week.
Really? For Fozzy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to be in this studio next week with me.
Yeah. I've learned a lot off of him with wrestling and stuff like that. And I'll tell people, you can listen to a match and tell if someone's having a good match or not just by listening to it. And it was at Joe Louis Arena too. Mm-hmm. So someone was the crowd was going crazy, and it was like mid card, and he's like, "Who's out there wrestling?" And he comes back, he's like, and I'm like, it stuck with me. So like sometimes I'll say, "Hey, it was a good match. I didn't see it, but I heard it. The crowd was really going crazy for you. What'd you guys do?" And they would tell me. It's like, okay, I'm going to do that next show.
Yeah, so, next show. You don't want to copy from.
You still, unless it's on TV, whoever does it on TV first.
Yeah, they get the credit. I remember talking to Stone Cold here in the station back. It was after WrestleMania here at Ford Field, and it was the hair versus hair match. You remember that?
Yeah.
With Trump and Vince and stuff.
2007, I think.
Yeah, so I talked to him after that. But anyways, he told me that the room was so big that he couldn't really hear the crowd. And, he's a reactive guy to the crowd. Yeah. And he said that he thought they stunk the place up, in his words. He went backstage, and they watched it. They were surprised how good it was.
It's almost, you love big arenas like that and stadiums and all that. But, when you're wrestling, and sometimes even a fan, I like the arenas, the stadiums or theaters where you can feel the people.
Yeah.
And
like Wednesday and Thursday coming up.
Bingo. I was just going to lean into that. So, it's not my first rodeo, kid. I'm here for a purpose. So, no. It's always great seeing you, Meltdown.
Yeah, I was talking
I roll my eyes.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding.
I actually
just seen you Saturday.
Right.
I was running around. Did I look like a wreck?
You looked a little flustered.
Well, not flustered. It's when you run your own stuff, you want everybody to have a great experience. And there's a lot of weight that you put on your own shoulders. But it's crazy. I haven't learned how to balance it out, and takes a really special team and an AEW. And I'm not just plugging them because I'm, here promoting the shows, but they've got a great team. And that's, after I finished up with TNA, I reached out to them and I said, "Hey, anything behind the scenes?" Because I've produced with TNA for 3 years. The last 3 years I was with them and wrestled, and let me know, because it's a place where it's got a great locker room. And unless it's Christian Cage in the locker room, then he's kind of a jerk. But and he'll tell you how great he is and stuff like that. But no, it's a great atmosphere, and it's something. Not only the AEW fans, they know that vibe, and they hear, especially if they, read online and stuff, and but it bleeds through with the product, and Tony Khan's definitely set up a great locker room for that, and the growth. It just, they're into their sixth year, and they just re-signed with TBS for multiple years, being on TBS, and which is a great testament to not only leadership, but actually to learn how to put together a team. So you're not running around like me, fucking. Oh, excuse my language. Bleep that out. But you're not, just stressed out trying to figure everything out and make sure everybody has a great time.
Yeah, you got to lean on other people.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it, and I'm always afraid of what I can bring up, because you guys always wrestle in about 87 different organizations. But TNA just had, they just put you in the Hall of Fame. Talk about
Were
that.
you there?
I was not there.
I
didn't get the invite.
Speech.
Apparently, only close friends got. No, I'm just teasing you.
Wednesday and Thursday, you want to go to the show? We
That's
got you. No, seriously, if you want to go. But it was one of those things where whenever you're inducted into the Hall of Fame, whether it's TNA or WWE or any type of, or you're recognized in any profession you're in or job, it's very it's a comforting feeling that they've recognized what your hard work and passion. And with wrestling, the wrestling fans, really recognize it too. And I gave the speech with 2 hours of sleep. We had a show on Thursday, and then I flew down to Atlanta, drove 2 hours, worked out, did a show, drove back to Atlanta to catch the earliest flight out. Slept for 2 hours, and then went into a production meeting, figuring I'd be able to find a corner to take a nap. Didn't. I go, Dreamer, I have nothing to say. Because actually I tried to get Adam Copeland to, induct me in the Hall of Fame. And they go, well, we don't know about the budget. And I think he was booked for something that day. And then Dreamer goes, you're stuck with me. I go, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because he's done great things with wrestling and for the wrestling fans. And he goes, just start off, you were born, and then go into where you trained. And so now I can add AEW to a chapter of my life. And this is actually the first time I'm getting in an AEW ring.
Oh, really?
And to do it in Detroit is very special. So, but yeah. So, but I let it come from the heart, and a lot of people have come up to me and said, hey, I really enjoyed your speech. And I was going to take another minute or two, but I had Ingrid counting down the time because we had to go into the pay-per-view right after that. And there was a match, and the match was like every couple minutes, it was like a gauntlet style, and you couldn't go over because that match, so we wouldn't want to, bleed that, the matches into the pay-per-view. So
I'm just glad I don't have an Ingrid counting me down because she's
mean.
Everybody
she is mean. Yeah. Anybody count down time is mean, So all
right, real fast, Gary, your partner there and your promotion wanted me to ask you about alien probes.
Oh. During the eclipse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I put on I got into the whole alien thing, right? So you really research stuff, right? So, you really like to put your guests on the spot.
I have questions from Diane too, but I think I'm going to leave those there.
Well, no, I put on like I made a tinfoil cap, right, and put on those glasses, and it was really cool. Did you watch it?
Yeah, of course.
I never really got into that, but you're at home, and it's not going to happen for another like 360, years or whatever come through over here, and so I was like, aliens are real, and watch out, they'll come down, and you might get probed and stuff like that. So it was just a little joke, and so.
That's so funny. Yeah. And by the way, it was your 49th birthday last year, and you had a birthday party.
You think aliens are real? I mean,
probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know what's out there. So
right.
And all kidding aside, we don't know. So just live your life and don't be jerks to others, and do your best and put your best foot forward.
And try not to get probed.
And that. I was just going to go into a pitch on Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to do the best I could possibly do with your support,
Hey, real fast, so before we wrap things up here, I know young Will has to head out, but you're going to be 50 this year. You had a 50th minus one birthday party last year. Was that your? Yeah. Diane said that's your first birthday party you've ever had. Really?
Yeah. Well, when we were kids, we didn't have money growing up, and so we couldn't really, our parents, and there was 3 of us total. So it's like if you throw one of your kids a birthday party, you kind of have to do, that could get pretty expensive, right, throughout the years. And so anyways, we'd have cake, ice cream, and my grandparents would come over and, and just have a little meal and some cake and ice cream and some gifts. And it was nice. And then when I wanted to become a pro wrestler, because I knew this path would lead me to the Masonic Temple,
right?
This Wednesday,
in 2025, right?
So, you just, birthdays are birthdays, and then it was one of those things where it's like, go out and have a meal, or a buddy would take you out or whatever and have a meal, and that was it, and birthdays I think are important for people to celebrate, but for me it wasn't. Like I went 21 years without going on vacation, so. And that was fine because I love, professional wrestling.
But you were traveling all over the world, which a lot of people don't get to do. And like I tell the Rockstar guys, you get paid to travel. You work for free.
Yeah. Right. True. That's very true. But so, that happened, and it was definitely a surprise. And we were actually talking about it earlier today, Adam from AEW. So, and it definitely surprised me, and I was glad everybody turned out, and it was really nice, and I was totally 100% surprised.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, that was fun. I was honored even just to be there, that we've been friends for almost 24 years. Well, 23 at the time.
Yeah.
All right, one more plug. Give it a plug.
This Wednesday and Thursday, AEW live on TBS. Go get your tickets at AEWTix.com. Tickets start at $25. Great family friendly, and actually be there for a little bit of wrestling history and Detroit wrestling history. I'll be stepping in AEW wrestling ring for the very first time, and I'm sure I'll gore someone.
Oh, somebody is going to get gored.
Yeah. How'd I do? Was that a good pitch?
That was fantastic.
Awesome.
Rhino, always great to see you. If you need any help planting flowers,
Yeah.
you know who to talk to.
For sure. It's funny when you bring that up. It's like Rhino's planting flowers. Yeah, you had your biker outfit on too. You came over on the Harley.
My biker outfit. I don't wear outfits.
Well,
I had my regular leather
chaps.
jacket.
I don't know why the chaps were assless, but
because I'm a badass. Oh, wait, I didn't have assless chaps. All right, young William, cut this off right now.